Okay, so looks like we're diving into this whole creepy clown phenomenon today. You know, all those weird sightings that pop up, especially around Halloween.
Right.
We've got some audio with interviews, people claiming firsthand experiences, the whole 9 yards.
Hmm.
So let's unpack this whole creepy clown thing and try to understand where this fear comes from, like the history of clowns, and maybe we can even try to figure out what's behind all these sightings.
You know what's really fascinating is that clowns, historically, weren't always seen as figures of fear.
Really?
Yeah. They actually go way back, ancient cultures like Egypt, Greece, Rome.
Okay.
And back then, they were more like trickster gods or figures of amusement.
Oh, yeah. So like those court jesters, I guess.
Yeah, bringing laughter and amusement to the royal court. But then somewhere along the line, things kind of shifted.
Okay.
It's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde transformation.
Mm.
Clowns went from amusement to being objects of fear.
Mm.
And there was actually a study where every single child they showed a picture of a clown to was afraid.
Wow, every single one.
Every single one.
So that makes you wonder, is it something we're taught to be afraid of? Or is there something deeper going on?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question that researchers have been kind of grappling with for a while now.
Yeah.
Certainly there are some cultural and psychological factors involved,
Yeah.
but the fact that this fear is so widespread, even across different cultures, suggests that there might be something inherently unsettling about the clown archetype itself.
But then, of course, you also have, pop culture just kind of throwing fuel on the fire.
Right.
With guys like John Wayne Gacy performing as Pogo the Clown while committing horrific crimes.
Right.
And then you've got, of course, Pennywise from Stephen King's IT and the Joker from Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys definitely don't help the image of clowns.
Yeah, these pop culture representations definitely play a role in shaping public perception. It's interesting to think about how the media might be influencing the creepy clown sightings themselves. Are some of these just copycat acts inspired by portrayals of evil clowns in media? Or is there actually something more to it?
Well, this is where things get even more interesting. You see the surge in creepy clown sightings back in 2013.
Yeah.
That actually happened exactly 33 years after John Wayne Gacy's arrest.
Oh, wow. The timing is certainly striking.
Right. And the number 33 has a significant meaning in Freemasonry and the occult.
Hmm.
It's pointed out by our source, and you can't help but wonder if there's a connection there.
Yeah, while it's definitely important to look at theories like that with a critical eye, the timing does seem like it's more than just a coincidence.
Right.
And the fact that it happened again in 2016, especially around Halloween, which is a time associated with occult practices, just adds another layer to it.
Right.
So we've got this timing that seems almost too precise to be random. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think there's something to this occult connection, or is it just coincidence?
It's definitely creepy, especially when our source goes into some pretty dark theories about these sightings. Like one of them is this idea of demonic influence,
Right.
saying that demons feed on fear and might be influencing people to act as creepy clowns, especially around Halloween.
It's interesting because that perspective actually comes from interviews with people who claim to have firsthand experience. Like Glenn Hobbs, who talks about being involved in satanic rituals and even mentions child sacrifice on Halloween night.
Wow.
Now, it's important to point out that these are very serious allegations, and while we don't want to say whether they are true or not, it's super important to keep in mind all the possibilities.
Right. And while Glenn's experience is definitely chilling, it's also important to remember that not all clown sightings are necessarily connected to those kinds of beliefs.
Mhm.
Some might just be hoaxes or pranks inspired by all the media coverage and, pop culture's portrayal of evil clowns.
Yeah, that's a really important point to consider. It's totally possible that some of these are just people looking for attention or acting recklessly because of what they see in the media, but it still begs the question. Why clowns? Why choose that specific look for a prank? There's just something about clowns that seems to tap into a primal fear and unease that goes beyond a silly costume.
Right. Like they're this weird mix of humor and potential danger. You just never know what's going on behind that painted smile.
Exactly. And that ambiguity can be super unsettling, especially in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information and trying to make sense of things.
Yeah.
Clowns, with their hidden expressions and unpredictable behavior, they kind of represent chaos,
Yeah.
like a disruption of order that a lot of people find unsettling.
Okay, so we've got demonic influence and media-inspired hoaxes as possible explanations. But there's another angle to consider, too.
Yeah.
The idea that this creepy clown phenomenon is a reflection of society's anxieties. like a way for the darkness people feel in the world to manifest.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought.
Yeah.
Maybe these sightings, whether they're genuine or just misguided pranks,
Mm-hmm.
are tapping into a collective sense of unease and vulnerability and using the clown as a symbol for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about these clowns as like a reflection of society's anxieties, this kind of darkness that's lurking beneath the surface. But is it possible that it's all just media hype?
hmm
I mean, the media loves to play up a good scare tactic.
Yeah, it's true that the media plays a huge role in shaping how we view these events.
Right.
I mean, with 247 news cycles and the constant churn to social media, it's super easy for a couple of isolated incidents to be blown way out of proportion
Right.
and create a feeling of mass panic.
Right. Like one blurry picture of a so-called creepy clown goes viral,
hmm
and suddenly everybody's on edge, seeing clowns everywhere.
Exactly. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the power of suggestion.
Right.
The more we hear about these creepy clowns, the more likely we are to actually see them,
Right.
even if they aren't really there.
Right.
Our brains are wired to search for patterns,
Mm.
to make connections,
Mm.
and sometimes that makes us see things that aren't actually there.
It's almost like our imaginations are working against us. So how do we figure out what's real and what's just hype?
That's where critical thinking is so important.
Right.
We got to be very careful about what we believe.
Right.
Really looking into sources, considering different points of view, not just blindly accepting everything we see or hear.
Right.
It's easy to get pulled into that fear-mongering, but you got to take a step back and ask, what evidence is there, really?
Right.
What are the motives behind the people who are putting this information out there?
Okay, so be skeptical, but don't totally dismiss it.
Exactly.
Because there could be real cases of creepy clown activity mixed in with all the hoaxes and media hype.
Absolutely, and that's exactly why it's important to report anything suspicious to the authorities.
Right.
They have the resources to properly investigate
Mhm.
and determine if there's a real threat. But here's the thing. Even if we just ignore the question of whether these sightings are real or not, the fact that people are so quick to buy into it, to be scared by it, that really says something about us as a society, don't you think?
Yeah, it really speaks to our vulnerability as humans. That fear of the unknown, the unpredictable, and the clown with its mask and exaggerated features just taps into that fear so well.
Exactly. They represent something unfamiliar. They blur the lines between humor and danger, childhood innocence and adult anxieties. It's no wonder they cause such strong reactions in people.
Okay, so we've talked about the history of clowns, the media's role in amplifying fear, and the fact that some of these sightings might be real threats, while others could be hoaxes or pranks.
Right.
But I want to shift gears a bit and get into the psychology of this fear. Like, why are some people so scared of clowns? I've never been personally terrified of clowns, but I can totally see how people find them creepy. What is it about them that triggers that gut reaction?
Well, it's a question that psychologists have been studying for years.
Right.
There's even a name for the fear of clowns. It's called coulrophobia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there's lots of theories about why it's so common. One theory is that it's the makeup, the way it hides their real expression,
Right.
creating this unsettling ambiguity.
Right, like you can't tell what they're thinking or feeling behind that fake smile.
Right,
It's like a mask that hides their true intentions.
exactly.
Uh,
And that uncertainty can be really unsettling, even for people who aren't usually scared of clowns.
Yeah.
Our brains are naturally wired to read facial expressions.
Yeah.
It's how we judge people's emotions and intentions. And when you can't see those expressions or they're distorted, it kind of throws us off balance,
Yeah.
triggers a feeling of unease.
It's like the uncanny valley, right?
Yeah.
That thing where something looks almost human,
Yes.
but not quite, and it just freaks us out.
Right.
Like those CGI characters in movies that just miss the mark and end up looking kind of artificial.
Exactly. That's a great comparison.
And creepy.
All those exaggerated features that clowns have, the huge shoes, the bright colors, the painted-on smiles, all of it contributes to that feeling of something being off,
Right.
something not quite right.
Yeah.
And that triggers an instinctual aversion in some people.
So it's not just the makeup, it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
How they move.
It's the whole package deal.
Yeah, their unpredictable behavior, the way they break social norms.
Exactly. Clowns will often make exaggerated movements, use slapstick humor, and have this chaotic energy that can be unsettling for people who prefer things to be predictable.
Yeah, like pieing someone in the face or tripping over their own giant shoes.
Right.
It's funny in cartoons, but in real life it can be jarring, even a little bit threatening.
Exactly. They disrupt our expectations. They challenge our sense of what's normal, and that can be unsettling, especially for people who are already prone to anxiety or who've had bad experiences with clowns before.
So it's a mix of things, the hidden expressions, the over-the-top features, the unpredictable behavior, the way they break social norms.
Exactly.
All of these contribute to the creepy clown phenomenon.
Yeah, and it's also really important to remember that for people who have coulrophobia, this fear is real.
Yeah.
And it can be crippling. It's not something to be taken lightly or brushed off as a silly phobia.
Right, definitely. And even if you don't have a fear of clowns yourself, it's important to be understanding towards those who do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Empathy and understanding are key.
Hmm.
We need to realize that everyone experiences fear in their own way, and what may seem harmless to one person could be really scary to someone else.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so we've covered a lot, from the history of clowns to the psychology of coulrophobia.
Mhm.
But there's one thing that I keep coming back to. Why do all these creepy clown sightings always seem to happen around Halloween? Is it just because people are wearing costumes and doing pranks, or is there something more going on?
Well, that's a great question, and it brings us back to some of the ideas we've been talking about.
Okay.
Halloween is all about the macabre, the supernatural, the blurring of lines between the living and the dead,
Hmm.
and that already taps into a primal fear of the unknown.
Right.
And when you mix that with the already creepy nature of clowns, it creates a really strong recipe for fear and uneasiness.
So Halloween basically cranks up the creepiness.
Exactly.
Like the perfect backdrop for these sightings to happen.
Exactly. And for people who already have a fear of clowns, Halloween can be a really tough time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They're surrounded by images of clowns everywhere,
Yeah.
both good and bad ones.
Right.
It can be hard to get away from that feeling of dread.
Plus, there are those stats about missing children that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The fact that those numbers tend to go up in October, it adds another layer of anxiety to it all.
Absolutely. Halloween, even though it's supposed to be a fun time, is also a time when people are more vulnerable, especially children.
Yeah.
And the presence of these creepy clown sightings, whether they're real threats or just dumb pranks, plays into those deep-seated fears of abduction and harm.
Yeah.
It's like those fears are embodied in this creepy clown figure.
Yeah. It's a pretty creepy thought that something as innocent as a clown can actually become a symbol of our deepest fears.
It really is. It speaks to the power of symbols and how they can tap into our collective unconscious and bring out such strong emotions. And it reminds us that even in a world that often feels rational and predictable, there are still dark corners, things we can't fully explain or control.
I think we've officially wandered into some seriously spooky territory. We've got clowns, Halloween, missing children, demonic forces. It's like all the elements of a horror movie.
But even in the midst of all that darkness, it's important to remember that we have the power to face our fears and make smart choices. By learning about the history, the psychology, and the possible reasons behind these creepy clown sightings, we can deal with this whole phenomenon with more awareness and understanding.
That's a really good point. Knowledge really is power. And in this case, it can help us take back some control.
Exactly. By figuring out what makes this creepy clown thing tick, we can kind of take away its power to scare us. Recognize the cultural influences, the media hype, the psychological triggers, the possibility of real threats and harmless pranks. And with all that knowledge, we can make informed decisions about our own safety and the safety of our families.
That's a great way to look at it. Okay, so we're back. And I don't know about you, but I'm still thinking about all this creepy clown stuff. It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, it really shows you how something as simple as a clown can tap into some pretty deep anxieties, cultural anxieties too.
Right, exactly. So where do we go from here? What's the takeaway from all this talk about clowns and fear and the stories we tell ourselves about them? Like, what can our listeners take away to feel safer and, just more aware in general?
I think the big thing to remember is that fear feeds on the unknown.
Okay.
The less we understand something, the more likely we are to be afraid of it.
So what you're saying is knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Like if we learn more about the history of clowns, the whole cool phobia thing, and how the media plays a part in making us afraid, then we can actually have more control over how we react and, make better decisions.
Absolutely.
Mm.
It's all about shedding light on the things that scare us, taking away the mystery,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes just knowing where fear comes from can be enough to lessen its grip on us.
Right, because if we can break it down and see it for what it really is, like, a mix of cultural stuff, personal experiences, and maybe some media hype thrown in,
Hmm.
then it doesn't feel so overwhelming, so controlling.
Exactly. And it also helps us be more careful about the information we take in. You start to recognize patterns and biases and question the sources of your fear.
So it's not about pretending we're not scared or ignoring it. It's more about understanding it,
Mm,
seeing it in context, and deciding how we want to react to it.
that's a really good way to put it. We have the power to choose.
Mm.
We don't have to be controlled by our fears. We can face them head on, learn from them, maybe even use them to our advantage.
I like that. It's empowering. So, practically speaking, what can our listeners do to feel a little safer, especially around Halloween when all these creepy clown sightings seem to happen more?
Well, I think the most important thing is to trust your gut.
Okay.
If something feels wrong or unsafe, get out of there. Don't be afraid to say something or ask for help.
And if you see something suspicious, report it. The
Absolutely.
authorities are there to help.
Exactly. And when it comes to kids, communication and awareness are so important. Talk to your kids about stranger danger. Make sure they know how to contact you if they need to. And maybe stick to well-lit areas for trick-or-treating, places where there are lots of people around and it feels safe.
So, it's about being cautious, but not letting fear take over,
Exactly.
finding that sweet spot between being aware and still enjoying the fun of Halloween.
Exactly. And remembering that most people are good, most clowns are just trying to entertain, and a lot of the fear we feel is coming from our own heads.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've definitely gone down some creepy rabbit holes today. But if there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this: understanding is power. When you know where these fears come from and why clowns have such a weird hold on us, that's when you can start to break free from their grip. So next time you see a clown, take a second and think about your reaction. Ask yourself why. Explore those feelings, unpack them. You might be surprised at what you find.